Welcome, beautiful people. It's the 17th of the 8th, 2025. It's another show of Kickback with Pom. Hope we're all doing well, and I'm joined by a legend here. First came across him the start of this year when he invited me on for the round one game, and I stupidly gave Richmond the secrets to beat Carlton Football Club. But I've got a legend here from the Tiger Cast. How are you doing, mate? How are you going?
I'm going well, thanks, mate, yourself. And you did, and my chat were very well and very complimentary of you giving away the keys to knocking off the Blues in round one. It was quite a great insight, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Carlton fans hated me for it just because it kind of all came true. So I don't know if Uze was watching your stream and was like,
we passed it on. Yeah.
Then, but good win by your guys. And unfortunately, it kind of kickstarted your year. Like, tell us about that. The start of the year, there was like rumours floating around, wasn't there, that you guys weren't going to win a game, yeah. Some of the pundits said. Yeah, you've blown that open. Like, how have you seen the season so far? And did you at any point think you were going to go winless?
Winless is always a bit of a stretch. I think the last time it had happened was somewhere in the 60s, I think it was. But I did think we were going to be at least 0-10, 0-11. I just didn't see any game in which we might win in the first half, maybe except for St Kilda. But even then, historically, we don't match up well on the Saints. So to get the win in round one was obviously completely unexpected, but I really do think it shaped the rest of our season, even though we've had a bad couple of weeks recently. I don't think we would have obtained 5 wins had we not won round one, because I just think it took the monkey off the back straight away. The narrative was so strong, and there was a little bit of validation to it, I guess, losing all the experience that we lost. And the 2 practice games we had against West Coast and Collingwood weren't that great either. So a lot had to change from then until round one. And yeah, winning that game definitely changed the course of our season, undoubtedly.
Yeah, when I remember watching the Collingwood game in pre-season, that was one of the games we watched, and that was when I did my pre-season predictions, and I had you guys as a 4-6 win season. And I remember some people saying to me I was a bit crazy, but when I watched that Collingwood game, what impressed me in the preseason was pretty much what you've done all year. You've come with no respect for like the opposition, which I think is important, because I think it's sometimes easy when you're rebuilding to try and protect the scoreboard, to try and be respectable. Yeah. But I don't think you learn anything from that. And what's impressed me early season, Richmond, you went out there, played your way, and it might have been stupid. There's been some times, like today, I think was stupid. Like you've tried to play, you've opened yourself up, and it's got worse. But that pays you back in 5 years when you're back winning flags. That'll pay you back.
Yeah, hopefully. I guess for us, it was just a matter of how often we could play well for. And as supporters, we were under no illusions. We were only going to see patches of good play throughout the first half of the year, and just hope that we put together bigger patches of play in the second half. But, you know, to knock off like the Gold Coast, for example, who were hadn't lost a game at that stage, was again completely unexpected. We were a kick away from beating the Giants in a half of football. Like I actually almost put them to the sword completely, but then we choked and they come back and knocked us off. So we've had some good moments that we probably didn't expect, but my actual worry is that these last handful of games are going to be what sticks in Richmond supporters' mind come the start of 2026. But if you look at it as an overall season, you can't not be disappointed. Like you have to be happy with it. So 5 wins, we've more than doubled our total from last year. And we've seen some good signs from some young players, and maybe some not so good signs from experienced players. But yeah, it'll be an interesting off-season, that's for sure.
You know what? Before we do get started, I do want to say I was very critical on Tim Taranto when you signed him. And I said this year was a big year for Tim Taranto because he's now kind of the senior player. And it may have he came for money and fame. It hasn't really worked out like that for him. But I was like, it's going to test his character because now he's a senior player and he's going to have to lead. I actually think Tim Taranto has been absolutely terrific this year. And I solemnly apologise to TT that I doubted his ability. I think he's been really mature, and I think it's kind of nice to see. He's changed his mentality. And how do you see Tim Taranto's year? I think it's been really strong, personally.
Yeah, he's had a good year. Both he and Jacob Hopper, that particular trade is going to be what torments a lot of Tiger fans. It kind of feels like from the outside looking in, they were sold a bit of a, I don't want to say false hope, but I guess the premise was all being playing under Dimmer and going for premierships, and then obviously Dimmer nicks off. But Taranto in the off-season really embraced his leadership role within the club and to develop and coach these young kids coming through. And he and Hopper have worn a serious load of centre bounce attendances, are quite ridiculous numbers. I'm talking 95% most games. And yeah, he's had a pretty good year. Some of his goal kicking's questionable. They typically make their way through, but they might not spin correctly, but that's okay. But yeah, the power of work they've done has been great. It's a double-edged sword though, because our actual midfield trio of Hopper, Taranto, and Prestia, it's not gelling. They're all very similar players, and no one's got pace. So I think we need to try and find a way to separate them somehow. But individually, they've both had really good years.
One pace midfield in a chat full of Carlton supporters as well, with some scatterings of others. We talk about one paced midfields quite a bit. Us blue baggers are aware, but I mean, we've got a big week. This is probably the best week for commentary we've ever had. Usually there's some dud games, but I've got to say, well done, AFL. You've actually done well. I usually complain, but what we've got here is something to talk about Richmond's pre-season. We started this in the pre-season, so before all the pre-season games started, we ranked the players, ranked the teams, and then every week after that, we've adjusted them, but we do our power rankings a little bit weirdly. So we go through game by game, and you can only move them teams up or down as you talk about that game. Then after that, we can't touch them, but they are subject to being moved up and down as other teams overlap them or underlap them. So this is what we've got so far. Come round 22, as you can see, it's very similar to the ladder with some nuances. So I'm looking forward to doing this with you because as the guest, you have the casting vote. So we'll start straight away with the game that kicked us all off at the start of the week. Essendon Saints, potentially the game of the round. This was a ripper. I had to go back and watch this morning because I do the Essendon rating show on Bomber Banter. But this was a great game. But you know what? There's something about Essendon, isn't there? The more injuries they've got, they are showing a lot of character at the minute, aren't they?
It was, and really, Goldstein's tackle at the end probably should have been rewarded for holding the ball, and they get one last forward 50 entry, and who knows what happens from there. But I probably didn't expect them to get that close, to be honest. I really thought St Kilda might have powered away, but yeah, with the length of their injury list, it was quite impressive, and you can definitely understand the narrative from Bombers fans about being pretty pumped about what would be called, I guess, an honourable loss. I thought they played really well.
Yeah, the honourable loss word, the worst thing you can ever hear,
it's
I
dangerous.
think, when you're a rebuilding side.
I know.
I know we've got Tiger Time who's in the chat. He usually watches this back. He's a big fan of your work as well. But I've had to apologise to him numerous times, saying learnings, honourable loss, it'll pay you back. Because I was like, you're going to hate me by round 12 when I'm saying this all the time. But St Kilda, there's something about St Kilda that I don't trust. I keep saying their list is brilliant for role players, but I still feel like they lack that je ne sais quoi. And that's one of them games where it did feel like in the fourth quarter, it was the Nasir show.
Yeah. And even when we played them the week prior, on paper, I thought they were going to obliterate us. Talking to Jake from Saints TV after he was talking up their list, I'm like, shit, we might be in a bit more trouble than I thought here. And we pushed them close. And it's like how Messiah-centric are they becoming? But the guy's a gun, so you kind of can't blame him, I guess. But I don't know. Windhager, I thought, had a really good couple of weeks as well. And Jack Steele, an interesting one after being sub a couple of weeks ago. Who knows if he's still going to be there. But yeah, on paper, I think they've got a solid list, but I don't know whether it's Ross's game plan or if they just need some more attacking options. But they just still kind of seem to hover around this end of the ladder.
You know what? Everyone talks about Nasir, as someone you want to steal or Rowan Marshall, but you mentioned him, Windhager
Yeah.
is someone I feel like every club needs. A lot of clubs have them, but I think there is still a lot of clubs out there that require that hard edge, that kind of ruggedness to really harden them up. And it's going to be fascinating. I know North have thrown money at Maynard and failed. I still think North, even though they've got so many midfielders, they probably lack a hard edge.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if I was North that I'd maybe float maybe too much money at Windhager's way.
I think there'll be a few clubs lining up. You read all bits and pieces. I mean, I've read that we might have interest too, but then I've also heard that if Nasai stays, I think Windhager is a close bestie with him and he might stay as well. But I think what we've seen recently is he's got his own ability to find his own ball and do his own damage rather than just the tagging role. But he can do both things, and I think that's a win in anyone's books.
Would you agree with me that I don't think we can move either team?
I would actually almost contemplate Essendon above us on the back of, like, we've got fairly similar injury lists, right? We've both got about 16 players out, but they actually cracked in and had a fair effort, and we didn't this week. So I actually wouldn't be against if the Bombers jumped us, to be truthful.
Well, we can do that. Look, you know what? That'll make Fiona happy, and Ethnic, who's usually in chat, I'm sure he'll be happy with that because they've had a rough season. But then we move on to, oh, you know what? I'm going to have to apologise. Look, I enjoyed Fremantle. Look, that game run, maybe I got a little bit excited. We gave them a lot of hype. Fremantle came back, didn't they, chat? Fremantle went back to Fraudmantle. Brisbane, though.
Fraudmantle.
Brisbane, we've got to hand it to Brisbane. I genuinely think when they play like that and when they're at their pomp and circumstance, they're another level. Like when they've got it together. I think Adelaide and Brisbane at the minute are the two most complete sides in this competition. It's just playing at the right time.
They are. They're hugely up and about. Can I firstly just say how annoying it was having these games overlap on a Friday night and eliminate the ability to watch both properly? But Logan Morris, what a year he's had. Very, very young in his own right. And I guess there was a lot of question marks with Joe Danaher leaving, who would step up. I'm not a big fan of Eric Hipwood. I don't really see him as taking the number one forward mantle properly. But Logan Morris, he's been super impressive this year. And, you know, Charlie Cameron bobs up with 3, and that win on the road was vital. I mean, prior to that, I think Freo had won the last 4 in a row, and Brisbane was sort of win-loss, win-loss. But that's a clutch win, and it's really put Freo in a predicament for this weekend now coming.
And you know what's gross as well? I want to give a shout-out to my draft boy, Jasper Fletcher. If you told me at the start of the year he was going to play at halfback and basically be Kiddie Coleman, I would have probably said, oh, I don't think he'll be as good. But I think his growth this year has been impressive, and I thought he tore up Fremantle this week. His run and drive and something different really hurt the Fremantle, and I think he's become quite a player. And I know there's talk about the NGAs and the academies being changed, but just shows Brisbane have built some fearsome players off the back of that.
They've got a quality list, don't they? They've got a list that should, in reality, compete for the next 2 or 3 years. Like Zorko, even like Zach Bailey, Josh Dunkley, who just kind of goes under the radar a little bit most weeks. They're star-studded. The Ashcroft, I mean, how blessed have they been to get access to both the Ashcrofts pretty much with a free hit after winning flags? Crazy.
It makes you sick, doesn't it? When you're just a normal football club like Carlton and Richmond, just trying to find someone in the draft.
Trying to get by.
And these guys are getting players. I mean, Fremantle, I think the story should be, and I said this on the live, I hope people don't start panning Fremantle, because I think this is more how good Brisbane were and how mediocre Fremantle were made to look. I think Brisbane deserve their credits. You know what? I know we got to talk about Adelaide, but I think the win was so impressive. Can we put Brisbane number 1 until we talk about Adelaide, and we'll have that argument later?
Yeah. No, that's fine. I mean, on the road, Freo were proving to be a powerhouse side no matter where they were playing. So I think that's fair enough. In the context of the season, it was huge.
And Fremantle, where are we throwing these? Because that is like it's almost like a prelude to a final, that game. And they got massively found out.
It's like how much of it is just a small blip on the radar? Like, you know how teams talk about the loss they needed to have after winning 4 in a row? Is it one of those ones? I wouldn't be against shuffling Hawthorn above them. I think Hawthorn are kind of they're fighting pretty well, but I think Freo they're still going to be in the mix. Although, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the other games later, but they've got themselves a final before the finals this week, so the pressure is right on.
It's going to be interesting. I agree with some of the chart, like 7th, 6th. It's true. WWE. So many sides could miss the 8.
Yeah.
They keep finding a way, but you know what? The problem is when you dice with death, and I agree with Stelios here. When you play with fire, sometimes you get burnt, and they got burnt badly. It's going to be great next week, the Doggies versus Fremantle, though.
They've got so many ex-player factors, though. I know Bolton obviously went there and has his moments. Luke Jackson has the ability to pull out monster games depending on what he's doing in the ruck with Sean Darcy. Then you've got Alex Pearce going forward now, taking marks and kicking goals. So I don't know whether they're just finding a few different things, well, in the preparation for finals, but they're still going to get one more win to make it.
It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be a real hard slog. But we come on to another game that, again, gave us question marks. My favourite team, the GWS frauds, as I call them. Again, I want to caveat this because I know you're going to come at me, some of you in chat, because I don't like the Giants. But again, I've got to question Dimmer here, and far be it from me to question Dimmer, but the method to beat in GWS is quite plain and obvious. Put some pressure at the forward of the ball, and I was super disappointed. 8 tackles for the entire game in the forward half of the ground. They were very poor, allowed GWS to do it, and it felt almost, watching this game, I got a taste of it. It felt like arrogance from Gold Coast, like they wanted to go toe-to-toe with, in my opinion, the best ball movement side in the league, GWS. Yeah. My issue with them is I think it's easy to stop if you put the pressure on it, but that wasn't really what we expected, and I think Gold Coast now, that was a maturity game that maybe they failed the test.
Agree. I was actually sitting there thinking, is it Fraud Coast? Like, I really did not expect them to lose that game, especially with no Hogan, no Stringer, even though he's new, he was kind of getting up and about. But the Giants, like you said, their ball movement is unbelievable. When they get going in that quick handball game and the springboard, when you've got Lockie Ash and Lockie Whitfield doing their thing from the back half, they can be unbelievably hard to stop. But I still thought the Giants midfield might have been, well, they are deep enough, but to get the job done, but they just couldn't get near them. It was impressive. And I know we talked a little bit off air, but Finn Callahan is an amazing footballer, and it felt like Tom Green got somewhere back towards the best version of Tom Green to really help get him over the line.
You know what? I'm in love with Tom Green because I feel like him and Matt Rowell are the 2 most improved players this year from last year in the terms of what they've added to their game. Yeah. And I think last year, a lot of the complaints about Tom Green were when they weren't talking about him in the upper echelon was he wasn't very offensive, aggressive with the ball. I've really noticed there's them Lockie Whitfield, Canelio traits starting to rub off on him. He's got that ability to do something. They'll be a threat in finals. I hate to say this. I know I don't like GWS, but the way they play, if the game's free-flowing, they're going to be a problem.
No one wants to play the Giants in a shootout type. Like, if you can somehow lock it down, to your point, you'd be a good chance. But if it gets out in space and you're trying to just go toe-to-toe for a shootout, not the team you want to do it against, especially when there's still some handy forwards to come in. And I thought Cadman had a good game as well, 4 marks and 5 tackles. I know the kid's only young, but geez, he's got a really good player written all over him.
I agree with you. I like a bit of Cadman. I feel like he's got a lot of pressure on him because I don't think he was the draft pick he was taken at. I think that was more just the AFL. We don't bid on NGAs and father sons, but I think he's really handled that pressure quite well. And a bit like Logan Morris, like you say, I think he's stepped up when he's needed to. And I think we're in a sweet spot of key forwards. I keep saying this. I think we're in a golden generation of keys that no one talks about.
I think so. I mean, you even look at Sam Darcy from the Bulldogs. Now he does some ruck work as well, but there's definitely some good ones getting around. And he's had, Cadman's had the benefit of having someone like Jesse Hogan next to him for a few years as well. And then the time that Jesse's not there, he steps up and fills the role perfectly. So they've worked it well.
Well, I suppose we're going to have to move the Giants up now. They're pretty much guaranteed to play finals. Where do you think, Chat and yourself, where do you think we throw them?
It was pretty impressive, that game, wasn't it? So if they were ninth, I mean, you'd have no problem putting them fifth or sixth. I don't think. I reckon that was
I
an
think we've
impressive
got to
on the
punish
road
Fremantle
win.
now that they're the only ones that potentially can miss.
Yes, well, it's pretty much them and the Dogs, isn't it? With everyone else's percentage.
And the Gold Coast, where do we move them? I feel like now question marks are asked now they've been beaten at home. If this was away, I'd probably be happy to keep them there, but I think the home is a worry.
It's almost like they're lucky to still have a game in hand too, because even though Port Adelaide aren't shooting lights out at the moment, they might play a blinder for Ken Hinkley's last game, and who knows what happens there.
Scenes, if that happens.
But, yes, I know. It's unlikely, but look, I think they have to slide a little bit because, it's like a big boy test and they failed, didn't they?
Would we say sixth just because GWS beat them?
I think I'd be comfortable with that.
Hey, there you are, Chat.
And they're I think they're ninth now, aren't they? They're sitting ninth.
Yeah, they are, yeah. But I mean, unfortunately, the AFL took the piss.
Still, how bad is it?
However, I'm glad you said that about Port because I've joked about this a lot. I've got a worry about the last game at AO with Hinkley. That game, if you've watched this show long enough, Chat, Port Adelaide only win when there's a narrative. Hinkley's last game.
Yeah.
They're going to sing Never Tear Us Apart. He's going to cry. I genuinely worry that Port might win that.
They will be smashing in a million mile an hour for. I know the fans have had their love-hate relationship with Ken over the years, but I really do think the players have had his back the entire time, and they will be seeking blood for that game. It'll be a hot contest, and anything can happen in that one, which will make the Essendon game a bit more interesting. Later on in that week.
And it makes the game we're about to talk about now, Carlton's even better. My Blues. Blues.
What a win. I tipped him too.
Yeah, you know what? I nothing to play for. And Carlton fans listen to these words well. Nothing to play for. All we've got left is to find our love for the game again. And you know what? I fell back in love in this game about 13 minutes into the first. I remembered why footy's good. Why I like this stupid sport. And Carlton were near perfect in this game. Near perfect. And Port, statistically, outside of Eagles and North, the worst side statistically in the league over the last 5 weeks.
It was a must-win game. In a lot of ways, it was a must-win game for you, wasn't it? Because of all the previous losses building up and then Port being sort of right for the picking. And you delivered how you should have. Like, you didn't just limp over the line. It was pretty comprehensive. And, we're talking off air, but Mackay got off the leash and kicked some goals. George Hewitt's had a ripper year. I want to give George Hewitt a special shout-out. I took him with the last pick in our Supercoach draft at work, and he's been unbelievable. Maybe in the top 10 players in the entire draft. His scores have been brilliant.
He's been sensational. You know what? It's the same in the draft. If you watch my draft content, I always say if you're a boring footballer, so the boring footballer a couple of years ago was Archie Roberts, and he's taken the piss. The boring footballer was Murphy Reid. He's taken the piss in the AFL.
He is.
If you're just very good and consistent, it's an ugly word in the AFL. We don't like consistency. We like je ne sais quoi. He's Mr. Consistent, and that's where you want him. I mean, obviously, for power ranking sake, Carlton are number one.
Surely.
Jump everyone. Where do I put Carlton? I feel like maybe I've had too much Frankie Evans juice, but I think Carlton up to 11th.
Yeah, I mean, definitely above Port after that. I mean, that's pretty comprehensive. So at a minimum, I think you could make an argument for 11th. St Kilda winning makes it interesting.
I just think St Kilda have beaten Toffees the last couple of weeks that Carlton would have won.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with them being 11th because I just thought it was a good response. And to see Harry kick 7, even though he maybe left a couple on the table, but that's a good a return to form as you can see. I'd say you're pretty line ball with St Kilda.
Yeah, I also think that I'm funnier than Jake, so
Okay, we'll take that into consideration. Okay,
do you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
funnier than Jake, and also I can be mean to Jake all week. No, all week on the Tuesday show, which is all I wanted.
Fair enough.
Essendon, if you are watching, I made you my lock of the week. All you had to do for banter was beat them. Xavier Dursman's the worst footballer in the world for missing that kick, I've got to say. But Port Adelaide, controversial. I think we need to have a conversation about Port Adelaide being somewhere 14th, 15th.
Well, they've lost the last 5, haven't they? They've just kind of fallen off the face of the earth. You would think they would put up a bit more of a yelp in the lead up to Kenny's last game, but it's just not gone well for them. And list-wise, I don't think their list on paper is all that bad, but it just hasn't clicked and they haven't performed at a good enough level. I think 14th is, I think that's not that out of the question for them.
Yeah, they're in trouble. And Double Dummy, you see, like, I trust you, mate. Neutral, you'll keep me in check. If you're happy with Carlton going above Saints, I am. And true, Sean, I am often mean to Jake. He is like my little brother, though. It's a love-hate relationship. But this game, Double Dummy's team, Hawthorn, mighty impressive Hawthorn. And
They were.
And all the injuries they're having, they just keep finding a way. And I would worry about Hawthorn because I always believe in a little bit of maturity. They've been there. They've done it. They've come into finals before on a hype train. They know how to respond now. I think they're a problem.
Well, they rode that wave of hype to the prelim last year against Port and obviously fell over. But Jack Gunston, has there been a better return player go to a club at that age and put out the type of year he's put out? 7 goals. I think he's kicked the most goals in a season that he's had in his career. And he's playing how I want Tom Lynch to play, which is leading up at the ball carrier. But they were impressive. And my wife, she's Hawthorn and sells all their family. And they were a little bit concerned about the Melbourne game because it was a little bit do or die for them to keep their finals hopes alive. But yeah, when they're on, I mean, they're trying the 4 tall forwards they're going with now. And you hear Luke Bruce post game say that he now doesn't have to worry about flying for balls. He can just literally run patterns at ground level. I suppose Watson will be the same. Ginnivan's been a different player since being dropped and coming back. Again, they will be a team that I don't think you would want to come across in finals.
You know what? Can we also shout out, is that not the best trade ever that they did? They gave him away, got him back for like basically an afterthought.
It's like an EPL soccer loan. They just loaned him out to Brisbane for a couple of years. And now I'm seeing Brisbane supporters are shitty because it didn't really work out for them, I guess. But he's been super. He's been so good.
It's so good to watch. It's so good to watch, I've got to say. But, I mean, Hawthorn, is there an argument to make them higher than Geelong?
Geelong have been impressive, haven't they? Which annoys me a little bit, but they have been impressive. And Adelaide have too. It would be a tough argument. I think if Hawks had won a couple more games, they would be higher. But I think there was still that middle phase of the year where they maybe dropped some games they maybe shouldn't have. But I reckon they're very, very close. They're very close to overpassing Geelong.
Double W's doing that thing. Doing that thing. You don't want the hype. You don't want the hype.
No.
I don't want to be blamed if you don't win the flag, so we'll leave you there. Melbourne, I'm happy with Melbourne at 13th. I feel like Melbourne are probably the best of the rest.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was probably a little bit disappointing given that usually things turn around a little bit when the coach leaves, doesn't it? But it just didn't seem to happen. Where do you see that heading with Goody leaving? Is it Buckley's job to lose, do you reckon?
You know what? I'm a little bit different to everyone else, and I've seen a lot of Melbourne fans. I've got a few good Melbourne mates, and they're like really on the train with Buckley. But my issue with Goodwin was I think he's playing an archaic contested game style, which he's openly said, and his list manager, they adapted last year. It didn't work. They shelved it. And then the preseason talk was, we're going to drop games because we're playing a more progressive game style. And then that North Melbourne game happened where they probably went two toe-to-toe and North beat them. And since then, they went really back to that very awkward game style. Buckley's the king of awkward game style. So I don't quite see it. I feel like they've been flattered by the name. Where if I was Melbourne, I think the job's as easy as you ring Hitmot, you ring Daly, you ring Skipworth, and you say how much? Come on down.
Skipworth was highly touted, wasn't he, in the last round of interviews? He got pretty close.
Yeah, the tactical genius is old Skippy. I hope to see him in a blue Guernsey, as the Collingwood fans know. I get a lot of teasing for that. I'd love to see him there on our line crew. But yeah, I would definitely. I think Buckley. I don't see it. I really don't. He's a genius at what he does, but I think you've kind of laterally gone with a new name, same style. Unless Buckley's learned something in the off season, in this time away. But I don't think coaches change their game styles. I've never believed it.
Yeah, no, it's a fair call. Do you reckon though, if they go for a young coach, do you reckon they need to clean out some players as well, or would you roll with the same list? There's always been talk about breaking up Petrarca, Viney, Oliver, and players like that.
Oh, 2,000%. Like, if I took the Melbourne job, the first thing I'd do is like, right, let's just get rid of these guys, right? Keep
just
one of Oliver,
fresh.
Oliver Petrarca. The fact they haven't traded in a key forward in 5 years when they've needed one, and they've done cut price deals of going, who's failed? Like when they got Shaki, like their method of fixing that has been, let's take a guy who's failed everywhere else. Like I'd be trying to load up on picks, and I think their list, your Petrarcas and your Olivers of this world, I think the teams 7th to 12th in that would probably sniff at them, would probably go, okay, it's probably better than us drafting one and waiting 3 years. Let's get a guy in.
The problem is they're getting really close to that Tassie compromise draft territory. Like they've either got to do it now, or they're almost going to be stuck with what they've got, and just naturally, whatever the draft picks they get from wherever they finish is where they finish. So I'm with you. I would go a clean sweep, I reckon. If you want a young coach, just wipe them out, start again, and push on with it.
Hey, Afrin, ironically, my list is the same as yours, but it's also the same as what I'd look for if I was the Melbourne chairman, so hopefully they don't want that. I agree. I think it's too late. I think they've got to go now. Like the Membry one blags my head as well. But a lot of Collingwood fans didn't want Membry.
He's been such a good pickup.
Yeah, go and check my Membry video. There was a fucking load of Collingwood fans who said he's a St Kilda hack. Very good footballer. But talking about them pies, this was probably, I've got to say, I'm a little bit different to most. I like shit football. I like cagey, hard. It's really hard to play football type football. And this is the game I'd show my mates in England where it's not easy. It's tough. Pies, world record inside 50s. But I will say this, the Pies found something this game. Maybe not the answers they want, but I did think they were a bit more like Collingwood. But Adelaide, people need to start paying respect. We have been hyping them up all year on this show. Quality defence, quality attack, and now they can beat the masters of a tight game at their own game. I thought they were impressive throughout. Their back line is a problem. Their forward line is dangerous. I don't believe this throw nonsense as well. That kind of shit happens in them tight games. I hate to see it from Pies fans. I think Pies fans are better than that. But Adelaide, what a team. Should be the minor premiers, albeit a miracle. Phenomenal team to watch.
It's a big turnaround too. I mean, last year I remember there was a bit of hype around them being sort of top 6 from their supporters, and then they lose Thilthorpe on the eve of the season, which kind of shakes things up a little bit. But their forward line, like Thilthorpe, Fogarty, and Walker, and I want to give credit to Walker because honestly, a couple of years ago I was kind of questioning why they're still keeping him around. Would they maybe lose Fogarty because they're being a bit precious and holding on to Tex? But it's worked out for them, and the three-pronged attack is looking really dangerous. And then Rankin playing some midfield time. He looks really good as well. But yeah, look, I thought the Pies had a pretty good game. A tight contest, 71 inside 50s. You don't lose too many games if you have 71 inside 50s. That is a monster number. And I think if you're Craig McRae, you're walking away probably having learnt a few more things from that. But yeah, you got to give full credit to the Crows this season. What did you make of Thilthorpe's time-wasting kick at the end? Do you reckon that was close to a free kick?
You know what? I picked up on it at the time because I was like, what the fuck's he doing?
Yeah.
But then again, I'm a firm believer. My older brother was 199, right? And we were very similar. The difference being probably about an average of 42% in exams. I was the better one. And I always used to say that if you're over 198, I actually think something happens with your brain and you're not quite as sharp as the rest of us below 6'5" people. So you never question them. Ruckman, key forwards, I don't think many of them, apart from Riley O'Brien, are going to be in your phone of friends. But I do feel, you know what I feel sorry for with Adelaide? Is the narrative from the media has been there should have been a free kick for that. 2 throws, Peatling's throw, the dubious calls in the third quarter, which I thought the Pies got the rub of the green in the first half, genuinely as a neutral. I thought they did. And I can't believe the narrative this week hasn't been about Adelaide have just been brilliant. Pies played brilliant. But I still can't believe the Crows aren't getting the hype from the media. Like Sydney, when they were doing this at the start of last season, people were saying they were unbeatable. Like, I'm not too sure what the Crows have to do to get the level of respect of the Pies, of Geelong, of Hawthorn at the minute.
Won their last 5 in there. They're absolutely flying. I guess, I mean, they've got top 2 locked up. If you're them, do you rest players against the Kangaroos knowing you've got top 2, or do you just keep a good thing going and try and roll them?
I think momentum's a beautiful thing, but I mean, maybe. I mean, Tex was out a couple of weeks ago, wasn't he? So I mean, I don't know how much rest he needs. They've still got legs in the. I think what needs studying about that, and Jonesy made a great comment here. Jones Racing, how they've rebuilt. You look at that core; 90% of it's drafted, and then they've bought the accompanying pieces. Peatling coming, maybe the 2 signings of the season, in my opinion. So, like, I think they've got a very young list. Do they need resting? They're going to get the week break, double chance finals. But
just go all out, I reckon. And they've now got 196 centimetre wingman, like Dan Curtin.
What a filth he is.
It's dirty as. It's such a transformation. He's being very, very good. But they're just so strong all over the park. And even like Keane in defence, fairly unassuming character, but usually gets the job done most weeks. And there was no Rory Laird this week as well, so he comes back into that lineup too. They're going all right.
Nick Murphy and Keane been brilliant as well. I'm a big fan of Nick Murray. Nick Murray down the back. Like, I think he's the glue that Nick Murray reminds me of Nathan Murphy. I actually think he's better, Nick Murray, than Nathan Murphy. But what I mean by that is when he's there, everyone else seems to be better. Yeah. And when I used to watch Nathan Murphy for Collingwood, when he's there, more looked all-Australian. Isaac Quainer looked like he could be an all-Australian halfback. He's the glue that seems to make people better. And Langy might be a Pom thing. You
only need someone to make other players look 5% better. But Jordan Dawson as well. I don't think I've ever seen a better last quarter footballer than Jordan Dawson. He just knows when to rise and when to get the job done. He can play any position. He just seems like the ultimate captain, if there's ever such a thing. I think he's had a good year.
Yeah. I agree. You know what? He steps up as well. I think he might be one of the best captains in the league because he reminds me of Trent Cotchin, that he has his best moments when they need him.
Yeah.
He's not doing the 40 touch. I'm all about me. He seems to be the accompanying piece, and then when he goes, And
Yeah.
you know what? I've got a big call. I think we need to move Adelaide number 1. But here's my big call to Stilios. I think Ben Keys is gonna have not as good, but close to a Dustin Martin 2017 campaign
In finals, he's an interesting player, isn't he? He can do so much.
That
He's
fourth
dangerous
quarter,
around goal.
Yeah, that fourth quarter, he was anonymous. And then when they needed him, Ben Keys was everywhere. He gives me a little bit of a Dustin Martin. You know, he did that. When you were down, that was when he came to play. I just feel like Keys has got a little bit of a wow factor about him.
He does, and he can kind of ignite them as well. They've got a few players that can do that, to be fair. I mean, Rankin's another one who can ignite them pretty quickly. It's a good thing to have, players who can sort of spark a side into action.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's my big call. I reckon he's the Norm Smith. He's the Norm Smith winner. Written all over him as Keysy. Collingwood, you know what? I'm going to be controversial here. I feel like Collingwood's win makes them better than Freo. I mean, loss makes them better than Fremantle.
Yeah, I think so. I think in that given week, I thought Collingwood's response was much better. I think you walk away knowing a bit more and a bit more positive about yourself as a Pies fan. But
it's controversial, but
they've copped some heat, though, haven't they, over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, you know what? Look, I hate the Pies as much as any other blue bagger, right? But I will say this: they are a class outfit, and unfortunately, they will be good in finals. You don't want to play them. Like if I was in the finals now, the two teams I don't want to play, game 1 are Adelaide and the Pies, because the Pies will just turn it on. And Adelaide looked like an absolute handful at the minute. The rest, I'd fancy my chances. Pies 5th. Oh, Teresa, I love you. Oh.
I mean, I reckon the Giants' performance was a more standout, beating the Gold Coast away than what Collingwood's was, just because of the manner in which they did it.
Look, these franchise sides aren't real. GWS and I'm not offending anyone by moving Gold Coast to 7th. Who cares? What one fucking person will DM me some abuse? So, I mean, I don't care. And I've already blocked him, I think. So there you are. How's that? I'll compromise. I'll move you to top 4 should any of them top 4 lose next week and you win. I was like, there's my bet with you. What's wrong with Bobby Hill? Yeah, what is... I don't want to get into it because it's going to be one of them dodgy stories. But then we come to your team, North Melbourne. 48 points. You had to go to Hobart. It's a fortress for North. They very much needed this win. This game, as a neutral, I actually thought, hang about, Richmond might get it because at half-time it had that horrible North Melbourne stench about it. They've worked hard. They've managed to get 2 goals ahead. But them legs, they got you in the end, didn't they, Richmond? And Sheasel took the piss, didn't he?
Quite literally. Yeah, 54 touches. Then we let LDU get a lazy 40 as well. The third quarter did all the damage for the Kangaroos. I think they kicked 8 goals to our maybe 1 or 2, and they just obliterated us. Our midfield was slow, flat-footed. And, and Zerha goes off the ground with an injury. There's no Nick Larkey. It's like, oh, maybe we're half a chance here to be able to contain them. But to let, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but to let North Melbourne kick 130 plus points when they don't have Larkey and Zerha is not a good thing. And our defense has been one of our strong suits this year, but the lack of defensive running from our midfield allowed so much easy ball from their midfielders to their forwards that not many teams could have defended it too much better. So sadly, I think the Kangaroos definitely need to go one up on us there on the list.
You know what, as well, what breaks my heart about this game, and I said this last night in my review about Carlton, because Mackay kicked 7. No one's going to talk about Sam Walsh's 60% game time masterclass. Everyone's going to focus on Mackay. Because Sheasel's pretended he bats number 7 for Australia in an Ashes series and has got a token half century. LDU's game might be the best LDU's game I have ever seen him play. Like, I was watching him going, fuck, he's a good footballer. I don't think he'll get any press this week, but that was one hell of a performance.
And I actually think that it stemmed from last week too. I actually thought that he was a bit of a catalyst for their mini comeback against the Giants. He was quick, he was daring, and he really got him kickstarted. But yeah, today, 40 touches, 9 marks, 7 tackles, leading the way with 10 clearances and leading the way with 719 metres gained and 1 goal won. He was dangerous. And I don't know why we just didn't sense anyone near him or Sheasel for that matter. Would be a question I would love to ask Adamuse. But he had a ripper game. He's in some pretty good form, I reckon, LDU.
You know what? Great comment as well by Jones Racing. I've got to give a shout out to Seth Campbell, one of my draft boys. I love him. But Taj Houghton, the Houghton curse, as we call it, because the last Houghton who came through looked very good, Ollie. But Taj, great to see him because I think he might be one of the picks of your draft. He's incredible footballer.
He may not be a 20, 25 plus disposal player each week, but the 15 that he gets will be impactful. It's just the calmness in traffic, dodging in and out of plays and just giving off, it seems simple, but giving off an easy, instinctive handball to someone in a better position who can then use it. He's got good leap on him. And it'll be a matter of time, I think, before he starts hitting the scoreboard. But yeah, to Jones Racing point, it's been good that he's been getting some CBAs and getting some clearances. Good for him personally, but it's kind of a bad reflection on the rest of the team that he's leading the way in the clearances on about 90% less CBAs than everybody else. But good for the future, though. He's an exciting prospect, Taj. We like him.
I'm looking forward to Kane Corns as well this week. Double dummy talking about Sheasel. He's Chris and Sheasel. Well, North, where do you want to put North? I've got an instinct you want to put them above your Richmond.
They have to. Yeah, they have to go above us as much as it pains me. But I feel like that's an accurate reflection after they transfers today. I mean, do they stay below the Bombers?
I feel like Essendon. That's a tough one, isn't it? Because it's like that bottom, that 17, 16, 15. I feel like there's a hair, even 14th. I wouldn't fully fit, ready, available, be willing to bet on either side if that was like a 4-way elite knockout competition. I don't think you could put any money on any player, on any team.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, North Melbourne, I think they've been... Well, do you think North Melbourne's form out of Essendon and Port has been better over the course of the season and they've just been a bit unlucky to lose some close games?
I do feel like the injuries have maybe warped our view on them. I mean, I'd say if we're doing it all fairness, they've lost... They've won more recently. So, you know what? Let's do it. Give North some chocolates. There you are.
Yeah,
be fair.
Yeah,
be fair.
And I know they lost to the Giants the week before, but I thought they looked really good in patches, and they, as I said, they came back and almost got themselves back in the game. And smashed us today accordingly.
And then we come on to the team that you know what? It's funny because I think I've been here since like 2011, and one team that's been a constant in the conversation of the title is Geelong.
Yeah.
I can't remember every team on this 18. I can remember being shit or good. I can't remember Geelong being shit. And I might have forgotten it, but it just feels like every year I've watched football, Geelong are in the top 8. They're humming along. We get to this stage of the season and we're like, oh, they might win it. And Sydney was a potential banana skin. I saw people saying this was a potential banana skin. They made Sydney look where Sydney were, average.
Well, I missed the start of the game because I think it overlapped a bit with our one, but it looked like the Swans got out to a flyer start and everyone's like, oh, hang on, this could get a bit interesting. And then the Cats reeled them in pretty quickly. But you're right. They've, as much as we all probably hate that they've been as good for as long as they have, for whatever reason, they just recruit well. It's a place that good players want to go to. You look at Bailey Smith, just walks in and is getting 40 touches at will every week. And Jeremy Cameron doing what he does best. They're an ultra consistent side, aren't they? And they'll again be at the pointy end of the season this year.
Yeah, it's. You see, I'd never hope for a side to fall off, but it would just be nice that they would understand what it's like sometimes to not be good all the time. Just because you know what? Funny story. My old boss tried to get me to support Geelong, so there was a precipice where there was a point in time I nearly was a Geelong fan.
Wow!
So if it wasn't for the Judd versus you final, I'd probably be a Geelong man. Because that was the way it was going. Would I have enjoyed the game and learned it as much? Probably not, but I would have probably seen two flags and I would have been happier, probably more dark hair than going grey. But I talked to him, right? He's called Robbie. I talked to him quite a bit. And you know what? He has no fucking idea when I talk to him about what it's like to play for vibes, what it's like just to enjoy the game. Like, his brain is warped that everyone can do what they do, and it's just so normal, and no one else can do it. It's fascinating that he just doesn't know it exists.
No, as Geelong supporters, I feel, just turn up to games thinking by how much each week for the last what feels like a decade, and it just feels a little bit unfair to the rest of us who are struggling a little bit. But yeah, they've been really good at. But are they travelling better than Brisbane, or how much weight do you put on Brisbane's win this week against Freo? Like, the Cats have won 5 in a row, so they're travelling okay themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just above Hawthorn. The Brisbane one, I do feel. I know maybe there was too much hype about Gold Coast, but I think in retrospect that was going to be a closer game on paper than the Sydney game. And I think Brisbane have absolutely, they pulled them apart. They did what they wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it was stronger opposition. It's annoying. It's like I do feel at the minute that top 4 feel better than the next 5 by at this minute in time, where I feel like Collingwood may jump into that conversation.
Yeah.
Going to be funny. I agree with this though, Double Dummy. I wonder, Brisbane, Adelaide, Hawks, Collingwood and GWS all having final style games. I do wonder if that's easy to switch on because they have got walkovers effectively.
Yeah, true. I mean, or does it help their older bodies that they're having a bit more bruise-free football? But I mean, I think for this week,
it's hard to switch on though. Like that killer, all these sides have had to switch into that killer instinct.
And maybe it takes a quarter, but sometimes that's all a team needs, isn't it? Is a quarter, and they get the jump, and the damage is kind of done. But I guess for this week, they probably handled the Sydney game as they should have. So I don't think they did anything exceptional or out of the ordinary to maybe justify a jump above the lines potentially. I think where they're at's probably accurate in terms of how things panned out this week.
I also feel like it could work against other teams as well, that they haven't really shown their hand. You know, like where Adelaide, they've shown 4 weeks of adaptation. Hawthorn have shown this killer instinct. Brisbane have shown when they're the best, they're the best. Geelong maybe have got an element of surprise as well about them, that you don't know what they're going to do. They might be working on something dangerous that will release when it comes, and we haven't really seen it.
And I mean, Jeremy Cameron didn't kick a goal, which is almost unheard of for the last month or so, given he was chasing down the Coleman. I think Dangerfield's still a bit of a wild card for them too, just not so much as a midfielder, but I think he's a really tough forward matchup with his size, his power, and you've got to pay him the respect that he deserves. So they've definitely got some options, and again, they'll be a dangerous team come finals time too.
Afrin reminds me of my greatest conversations. So do you remember last year when Carlton beat Geelong and like the wheels were off and we thought that was it? We were coming, we were in the flag, right? I spoke to him on the phone the next week, right? And he was like, enjoy this now, Pom. This is your time. Our time's done. We're too old. And literally, he was like, it was like a fucking suicide note. Like, honestly. And I'm like, bro, we beat you, but you'll still be there. But you'll be favourites to go deeper than us. And he was like, nah, younger bodies, you guys exposed us badly. And I was like, you just can't deal with losing. Like, I lost to Richmond and still believe we might win a flag this year. My brain was like, we can do this. It's just one loss.
Speaking of the old players, how many years in a row now do you reckon us external supporters have used the old bodies phrase against Geelong for, just in pure hope that it's going to sometime eventuate and they're going to just slow down?
Yeah, it's funny because Collingwood now are getting it as well. Collingwood are getting it. And like, because I'm a round ball man, I remember the times that if you were 30, you were considered a old age pensioner in football. And like now you've got Ronaldo knocking around at 39.
Yeah.
So I find it fascinating to me. Like, genuinely, it makes me laugh that when people see a footballer 35, they're like, oh, he's ancient. And I'm like, people are getting younger for longer now. And I agree with Cat Over the Ditch, our good mate here. You've got... So they have been subtle with their youth as well.
Yeah.
Like, over the last 2-3 years, they've brought in some incredible youth that I don't think gets talked about.
Ollie Dempsey goes all right, doesn't he? He does some good things.
Yeah, Max Holmes, Tom I never forget as well going to a VFL game, and I went with Robbie. We had a beer, and he was like, "See that guy there, Tommy Atkin? He's going to be our next Selwood." And I watched this guy's game, and I was like, "Fucking, I don't know what's in that beer, but it's not alcohol." and then, long story short, a year later, he comes in, and Chris Scott uses them words. He's the guy we've trained up to be Selwood, and bro came from nowhere. Like, how are Geelong doing this? Someone needs to study it.
It is. It's almost a study case. Yeah. And I mean, Shannon Neal bobbed up and kicked 3 or 4 goals today. They just seem to have all the answers. And what did you make of their getting Jack Martin?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think Geelong's the perfect place for him because they have the ability to rest someone for 12 months, play him for 4 weeks, and him be a world-class superstar. Unfortunately, at Carlton, that position, it was Jack Martin and Jack Martin. That was it. So him being here, we needed him 25 games a year. So perfect thing. And you know what? He never annoys me when Geelong get a player and he becomes good because they can do something most clubs can't. Like, I wish Carlton were in a position to pay him on a heavy performance deal and we can rest you 8 weeks and bring you in when we need you. Fair play to him. I wish I've got to say, Jack Martin's a great human being. Had a beer with him a couple of times at functions. One of the best, but I wish him the best. It's just one of them things. I wish we had that depth, mate.
Yeah. And then they keep getting linked to every second player that's available. It's like, how does this keep happening? Like, there's a good chance they're going to pick up 1 or 2 really good players next year too, and just keep building and keep getting stronger.
Well, I mean, it probably helps. Probably helps you can do modelling contracts on the side. But I mean, I will say this: like Stelios, great look. Like, look at the players. Some of the players they found under the noses is fascinating as well. Like, and Michael Turner needs to get. They need a shout out because they do find these guys from obscure avenues as well. Like, you look at where they recruit, while all the other Mickey Mouse football clubs are going to watch the Pioneers play. They're out there country football. They're out there backwater WA town watching a guy you've never heard of. Like, they're putting a lot of hard work in as well. They find these gems.
Yeah,
and it's funny when you ever go to under 18 football. It's funny, you'll go to like a big game, Sandringham Dragons, you'll recognise all the recruiters. There'll be Roses there. There'll be all the guys that you know. And you go to like a Geelong home game, Falcons, and there's like 6 old men like with a dog.
Yeah.
And the Geelong recruiter there. So it's fascinating how much effort they put in.
Well, they've always been spoken about as a footy factory, haven't they, the Geelong Falcons?
Yeah, and if you believe the rumours, they do funny business, unfortunately, where they hide players
Hide a few players,
in
okay.
the focus at the end. But you know what? That is the power rankings there. Oh, wait, we've got one more game. The Doggies destroyed
Smashed them.
the Eagles. This was a fascinating game, and it really makes that game look huge this weekend because they also made their percentage the second best in the third best in the 8 now. So everything's coming up Millhouse for the Dogs,
Yep.
providing they win. Didn't really learn much though. The Eagles, unfortunately, that's a long way for them, isn't it?
It is. It is. I mean, the Bulldogs did what the Bulldogs needed to do to keep their chance alive, and now they give themselves a shot at an elimination final in round 24, which will be fascinating viewing. I probably thought the Eagles might have been a bit further along than what they've shown this year, but there may be some reasons internally as to why that hasn't eventuated. But on paper, sometimes it still shocks me the Dogs aren't more entrenched in the 8 with the team they've got on paper. And I know Bont didn't play for a large chunk of the year, and Sam Darcy missed some games too. And I think Treloar played a game in the VFL today. But on paper, if they get their shit together at the right time, they are equally as dangerous as what someone like the Giants could be.
I think they're a fascinating case study, aren't they? Because their midfield is probably on par with Fremantle's.
Their defense is maybe not as strong.
Yeah, it's their forward line, isn't it? That Darcy and the form Norton is in, it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. And Darcy, I think, will be a factor because we've seen it with Thilthorpe. I don't think Thilthorpe and Darcy, if you did an actual DNA test, they're actually of this earth. I don't think they're human because
no,
I've never seen two guys move like they do. And what's scary for Doggy fans is he's got a brother who's in the draft this year. And I was very alarmed when I checked his name in the database to see he'd been invited to the national draft combine, which means it's the top 50 players in the country. He's got an invite, which means there's been some interest in him.
Yeah, so he could be just as good.
Just as good, maybe not, but he's got all the traits. And the way they looked after Darcy and built him up, I think he's better than most. Better than most. So genuine. And what's scary is the brother plays down the back.
Oh, so they're going to have one at either end. Just great.
It's cheatcode.com.
I know. There's another team who's benefiting from it. My goodness. Well, that's a scary prospect. But yeah, they were on fire this week. I mean, I think you could comfortably say they were above Freo on that list. It's just, do they go above the Suns as well after their poor form?
You know what? I feel like they do, because I feel like someone asked us a question as we finish this, because I don't think we're going to move the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to win the lottery. It's scary random yap. I don't know if you watched my first video, but 80% of people who get invited to this get drafted, and a staggering 99% father-son NGAs, if they're invited to that, will go in the main draft. So it's not a big secret. It might be a big secret for the world, but obviously it's nice to know some AFL clubs have gone, oh, fucking hell, there's another Darcy here. Let's get him. Who do we think's going to miss? So this was a good question here. Let's put our balls on the line. Who do you think misses?
Who misses the 8 next week? I think Freo are at greatest risk of missing the 8.
Can I just say, the sicko in me would love Port and Essendon to do the funniest thing ever. But I do think that 108 it's a shit percentage. Like, it's basically win or you're cooked, isn't it? Like, there's no second chance.
And the fact that it's at Marvel as well, the Dogs play Marvel really, really well. But look, Freo have shown this year they do have an ability to win some games on the road. But yeah, they're lost. They just put themselves in a real shit spot this week. The Dogs are flying. Freo might be second guessing themselves. But I think that all eyes are going to be on that game. The other games, they matter somewhat. But I guess it would make it interesting if, one of the other games is if Port Adelaide knocked off the Suns, for example, which happens beforehand, that could make things a little bit interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be fast. Like, it's a shame. I will feel sorry for Fremantle because, I mean, what is it now? They've won 11 of their last 12.
Like, there's teams here who are winning 15 games and are going to miss finals. It's crazy.
Like, it is heartbreaking, isn't it? It's heartbreaking, really. Like, because you don't deserve it. But then also you've got the argument, the start of the year, their form was horrible.
Yeah.
But I do think the sicko in me would find it hilarious if Gold Coast missed. Like,
it would be funny.
Less than 8 points locked away, isn't it, really, on paper?
You would think so. I mean, I can see Port doing something a bit quirky just with Hinkley's last game, but I can't see Essendon prevailing and doing the unthinkable if it did come down to them. It would make it interesting, but it's still just shit that we've got a team with a game in hand as we enter the last week.
It is, yeah.
Boggles the mind.
The AFL, unfortunately, the AFL. What more can we say about that? But that is the 8 chat. That is it. Well, next week, this will change to something else. We've got a special guest. We've got a repeat guest next week. We're recycling guests for this show during the finals. So let's have a look at what you've all come for. So we've got a great game here. We do a game first. Guess the player. So you'll see there, Terry from Blue Abroad.
Terry's killed it. Jesus.
He's done well, 11 players. You've got Ollie there. You've got coaches, panel, Pies, Footy, Riles, Swoop, everything Essendon. You've got the Saints there, look, being bottom of the ladder, where they know to be. Where they know.
Another shot at it.
Do you know what I mean? Where they belong, at the bottom, holding everyone else up. No, to be fair, there is people who were worse than them. They just we only do the top 5. So well done. But what we do here is we have a game of almost like charades. So the way to explain this to you is you've got a minute, and I will try and give you clues for you to find what the AFL consider a general defender. So these are only general defenders in the competition now. So the example of the clues are things like, if it was Sam Walsh, I would say you'd already know their midfielders because I've told you it's general defenders this week. But if it was midfielders, I would say to you, plays for Carlton, former pick 1, probably Carlton's best midfielder, bar Patrick Cripps, you would say.
Yeah, Sam Walsh.
Yeah.
Okay. General defenders. I feel like there's a lot of those, isn't there?
Hey, there is. General defenders, it's quite tough, but sometimes having quite a lot because I do help you out. So when you're ready, use chat because chat are very good at this game. And next week, chat, I'm going to be picking on you. I'm going to put the link in and you can come on and have a go at doing this. Some of you have done very well.
All right, let's do it.
I'm ready when you are.
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it. Go. Right, okay, this guy plays for St Kilda. He's probably going to go to Adelaide at the end of the year.
Adesai Wanganeen-Malira.
Yeah, this guy plays for Port Adelaide. He's Kane Conn's favourite player. Was drafted as a midfielder. Now gets cheesy ball. Who?
Miles Bergman?
No, was drafted with Butters. Now plays at halfback.
Oh, Kane Farrell, Boak.
No, I think famous Adelaide player used to be a midfielder.
Used to play with
Butters. Same draft as Butters.
Same draft as Butters. Help me out, Chad. I don't know enough about the draft. Boak,
First
Rosie.
name Connor.
Oh, Rosie.
Yeah.
General defender.
Yeah, he's listed as defender. Collingwood, he's Nick's brother.
Josh Dacos.
He's halfback, used to be at Geelong, now at Fremantle. He's got the same name as Superman's real name. Surname.
Oh. Geez, that Rosie one. That threw me massively.
If you get stuck on one, you get stuck. It's tough.
Yeah. I would not have expected him to have been listed as a general defender. There we go.
Chat, you did well. Well, you got 3 there, mate, which isn't too shabby because that is where literally everyone on 6th is.
Right, okay.
So it's not as bad as you think. It is tough.
Jeez,
You know what?
that was tough. That was a doozy.
Hey, do you know what I mean? Hey, Juddy there with a banter.
Fair play.
It's one of them things as well. It is always tough because the AFL with their champ starter change who does what their positions are very, very quickly. So will have caught some people out, especially if you play Supercoach. I think he was listed as midfielder till like halfway through the season. So here you are, chat. I sent you a challenge, right? And I am so pleased. Double Dummy with 851 won the secret prize, won the special prize. So the winners this year have been Jamie Bryant, Langy, Shepherd, Shane Matchachon, and now Double Dummy. There is someone else in there. I've got it wrote down, but it's not in front of me. But super score by Double Dummy. So I'm so glad you finally won one. So I will reach out to you next week's show, and I've got you all a very special prize. So I will need to know the sizes of the top half of you. So don't be dodgy. But here we are. This is your team for the final round. So how we're doing it this week, chat, is the Gold Coast. It will be best score counts of Gold Coast players. So when you enter your team, it'll be the best score counts if you pick an Essendon or a Gold Coast player. So the best score of them will count. But take us through your team, mate.
Yeah, so I've kind of drawn some inspiration from my actual Supercoach team because it's going not so bad. But Max Holmes, he's been a really good scorer for a lot of the year, and I'm taking into account that he's playing us. And the fact that they still need to win or play reasonably well to maintain their top two spot plays into my favour. If they were out of, I was worried about the resting factor, but no, I do like Holmes as a scorer. Being dual position as well helps. Wangneen Malira, I think, is fairly self-explanatory. He usually scores well, no matter what. Jordan Dawson, again, I think he's one of Adelaide's better scorers. I don't have him in my draft side, but I like that he can play at multiple parts of the field and is usually getting quite heavily involved at the pointy end, which is sometimes multiplied a bit. The worry will be if they start or feel the need to rest players if they're happy with just being second. But again, playing against North Melbourne, if Adelaide are playing to their potential, he should be pretty much fit and firing and should be dominant. Matt Rao, he's almost untaggable, isn't he? Finds the ball in and under. He's in a bit of a purple patch at the moment. I was tossing up. I mean, you can raffle it off between Anderson, Miller, or Rao as their midfield who typically score well. But I've gone for Matt Rao against the Bombers. I'm hoping he has a bigger score against the Bombers because they might have checked out by then potentially. And then Bailey Smith as a forward, which is an absolute steal in real Supercoach to have him as a forward in a year where forward's a bit of a struggle. But again, playing against Richmond, we just saw what Harry Sheasel did, right? Getting 50-odd touches. Bailey Smith would be a sneaky chance to pass that at the rate he finds the ball and with how we don't pay respect to other players. Rankin, I think, is forward is a hard part of the ground, but I've got Rankin in my actual team, and he's usually scored some good numbers. He usually comes up clutch at the end. And I've gone Max Gawn because he seems to be fairly reliable in ruck. Tristan Xerri is also another good ruckman that I don't mind. But yeah, gone with Big Maxi Gawn.
And when the teams are named, I do slide into your DMs if you've missed a player, so you can name some emergencies as well and have a second crack. So that will change should they rest them. But that looks a strong team. Let's have a look at the leaderboard. So if everyone remembers episode 1, Lek Dog, the Supercoach expert, came on and reckoned 1,000 was easy to get. He ended up scoring 701. And he's currently ranked 17th of all the people who have done this, which, as my best mate in the whole world wide world, I take the piss out of him every day that he gets paid for his nonsense of telling people how to play the game. Last week, Felix, who admitted he never plays this game, did a very strong score. He had a -1 from Nick Vlostin.
Oh, that's rough.
But pretty strong score. Pretty strong score if you think that could have been a an 800 maybe. Could have pushed up for someone who hadn't played it. But the winner at the minute is Centre Bounce. They are playing for the patented, I can't wait to show you next week. We have a ring made up by a good friend of mine. There will be a Supercoach ring, content creators ring for this. So at the minute,
that's impressive.
I'm hoping you do it. I agree, Afrim. I don't know what Lek Dog was fucking on about.
You need at least one more player, I reckon, to be able to say thousands.
Well, to be fair, it has happened. It has happened. It has happened twice so far. Okay. Double Dummy's correct. Shane did it. And I can't remember who else did it the week before. Was it Jamie? Jamie, was it you, Jamie? I'm sure I know Shane definitely did it. It was 10-15 he got, which is ridiculous numbers.
That's crazy. Was that like a Mason Redman 179 game for most players or something?
Yeah, he had his team went mental. That was it, Langy. I'm thinking of you just under 997. So it is possible. It is possible.
Yeah, nice.
So there you are. Look, thank you, Sean. Hey, that's why I've got you here. So let's hope we get 1,000. I'd love it if someone who's not a Supercoach creator won it.
940 will still take some beating. It's a big score.
Well, yeah, Centre Bounce is a content creator for Supercoach. I was excited because everyone who was on the leaderboard didn't do it as a content. And that was the aim. It was the aim to prove that it's not as easy
to show
as
them up.
Think. Yeah. But we do have a chance to finally win this one. This is the one that's eluded us. For some reason, we have done this all year, and not one human being has got 9. And
wow.
I'm pleased to say you are in the week where you get 10 bites at the cherry. You will have 10 games.
Jeez, I'll take that. I might need it.
I've got to give a shout out though. In our tipping comp, we do play finals in our tipping comp, remember, but PJM stays on top. Rocco, MRL, Andrew, Tiger Time, Peter Harewood, Tyson, Willamus, Clara Lenko, and Teresa make up the top 10 of this. 4 tips separating 10th from first. And a big shout out to a tough week of tipping. No one got all 9, but Ryan, Benno, Ben, CB, Jack, Rocco, and Paul got 8 out of 9, which is a phenomenal effort. But we are looking for 9 from you. Shout out as well, Catch Up Pod, who he deliberately tipped a shock. If he didn't tip the shock, he would have had 9. He realised he had 9 favourites and then decided to change the tip. Yeah, because he was like, 9 favourites never win. And
true.
The one week someone used their intelligence, they over-intelligence themselves. So here we are.
Yeah, Thursday night. Racing, there is a bit of pressure.
Start off with my Blues against them battered and bruised Bombers.
I think the Blues are going to go on with it. They've got the confidence about them. Harry's up and about. I think your Blues will get the job done.
Mate, I love to hear it. I love to hear the Blues names being tipped. It's only the second time we've been tipped now in 10 weeks. 100%. 100% success rate with a Blues tip. Pies D's. This one is an intriguing one. Pies guaranteed to play finals. It's a shame that this didn't have more riding on it.
Yeah, the Pies, it's a must-win for them, just for their own form, mentality, good habits, and things like that. So I think the Pies should get the job done against the D's.
Here we are, Hinkley and Travis Boak's send-off game. I always warn people, think of the narrative. This is fucking narrative.
They could do the absolute unthinkable, couldn't they? And I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but again, similar to Collingwood, the Suns just have to win. You don't want to go into the Essendon game having to win to play finals. So I think the Suns have got to get the job done. But geez, I would not be surprised if Port pull a rabbit out of the hat here.
I tell you what, chat getting around Port, genuinely,
it's not out of the realms. It really isn't.
Just because I did the preview for them this week and I know that their data's now got even worse. right? Since the week we did it. Like, this would be the biggest shock in the history of shocks. But North entertain the Crows. This is an intriguing one.
It is.
Surely, though, Crows batter them.
The Crows are in good form. I mean, North Melbourne will take some confidence away from our game today. But I think the Crows, if they want to finish top, I think they're still going to play good footy and create good habits and win. So I think the Crows should get the job done. I would have felt better had we won today, though. But yeah, we'll go the Crows.
Mate, it's always... It'd be interesting, though, if they just drop everyone and play a second string. I'd still think the Sandford side, with all due respect,
get the job done.
would win, to be honest. But your Tigers, they entertain them Cats. Is there a shock
zero
here?
chance. We are zero. We're lucky to score 40 points, I reckon. The Cats are going to do a lot of damage because they need to win as well, so they're not going to rest any players because Brisbane could catch them. That could. My only hope is if we can. We don't want to have a 100-point loss in the year. That's our final box to tick, and this game is a genuine danger to that.
It's going to be. I suppose that'd be a win. I mean, to be fair, that would be a win because I was reading all the pre-season stuff, and people were saying some shocking things about the Tigers. Like, this is the worst side ever in the history of the AFL before a games. Like, that would be a huge win. No batterings and +5 wins. That's a huge statement, isn't it?
It'd be a nice little way to round out the year. I say we could lose by 95 and play like shit, and it wouldn't be a nice way to round out the year. But if it's not 100, we'll take it. And Matt, you're probably right. Jeremy Cameron could beat Richmond on his own. That is a fair call.
To be fair, he doesn't want 100, does he? And everyone had predicted it was going to be easy.
Yeah. He's left it on the table this week, hasn't he? He probably needed to kick 8 or 10 in the game just gone, and they could have just spoon-fed him in the last game against us.
Well, you see, that was what we were saying last week. We thought he was going to go big this week, but it's going to be fascinating. But this Eagles Swans,
that's tough.
Probably the boringest game of this weekend.
The Eagles are going to view this as a game that they could win. You just don't know how switched off teams are going to be when the season's done. For intents and purposes, I think Sydney have to win, but the Eagles might treat it like a grand final. But I'll go the Swannies.
The Swans.
It's so hard
Sean,
to
answer your question. I believe that they're counting this as the double game. So that's why it's the Friday games, the margin tip in our league. I don't understand it because the Gold Coast Port game's the double game, the Essendon Suns game is the double game, but I'm not ESPN. I don't get it either. The Giants Saints. Could the Saints do it?
No, I think the Giants will be too strong here. They seem to be humming along nicely at the moment. And again, all the wins in the 8 count for something still. So they'll be keen to get another win on the board.
Hey, it'll be amazing. Does it count if you kick 100 though in the granny?
I don't think so. I think the whole hype around it is kicking it in the season, but I do believe there are contingencies in play for crowd control during the finals as well. I think that's where it's most likely, but it'll be nice, but I don't think it's got the same aura about it as what it does kicking it in the home and away.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe I'm harsh. I don't count it. It is 100 goals in a year, but I think 100 goals in the season is what you get excited about. But this is the game. The top final. 8.
I think the Dogs get it done. Just being at Marvel, the Dogs coming off a really nice win. Freo maybe licking their wounds a little bit. But both teams are going to throw the kitchen sink at one another. It's going to be a fascinating contest. But I think just down here, the Dogs play Marvel really, really well. It just feels like a game that Sam Darcy's going to rise for, and he might be able to get a hold of him.
It's going to be fascinating. Chat and yourself, what do you think? What do Fremantle do if they miss the 8? Do you think JL's position's in trouble?
Yeah, it'll get spoken about, won't it? I mean, they got Bolton across, who was kind of not the great wide hope, but was going to add enough to conceivably get them to finals, and they're going to maybe just fall short again. I think you probably have to go another year, though, before you pull the trigger. It'll start to come up, though, won't it? It'll start to be a topic of conversation. So say they miss finals and they lose a couple of games early next year, I think word will start being spoken about in the footy industry.
I find it fascinating that Horse has said he doesn't want to coach this year. It would be fascinating if Horse had said, yes, I'm open to the offer, because I think then teams would probably be pushing the button. But
yeah,
I agree. They are young. I think it's going to be. I've got a feeling that JL is going to be the new Hinkley.
And 15 games, right? It wasn't that long ago that 12 and a half games got you into finals. So 15 games and to miss is a pretty extraordinary set of circumstances, to be fair to them.
I've just got a feeling JL is going to be the new Hinkley. You know, the one that we sack pre-season every year. Boy. Yeah, because I think Nix has avoided it. I saw this start of this year, Nix was the guy. But I feel like I feel like JL now because he's missed.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to start going, ooh, this is a problem. And we want rid of you. And also, he's got no personality, with all due respect to JL. I don't think he's got the out-there personality that the media like. But this game, top 4 candidates, Lions at the Gabatoir, Hawks.
They're very good up at the Gabba, the Lions. Coming off a good win, but as are the Hawks. I reckon the Lions will get the job done up there. But, I mean, you would have to say it does feel somewhat 50-50, maybe 60-40, just slightly in Brisbane's favour, but that should be a cracking game, actually.
Yeah, it's probably the worst time to have it as well after the Dogs game, because you kind of want this in its own separate isolation. Like, ideally, this is the Friday night game and the Dogs is the Saturday night game, like in an ideal world, because this would decide the top 4, the other one decides the top 8. We'd have some good football, but this is going to be interesting. Who you going here? Who's your heart say?
We'll go the Lions. We'll go the Lions against the Hawks. Just being up there, I think that plays a big factor. They do play the Gabba really well. Somewhat of a fortress for them. But yeah, the newfound Hawks forward line could pose some issues as well. But Harris Andrews I think he's evolved quite a bit as a defender. I feel like he's kind of helped got their shit together collectively down back. And the Lions just have a lot of depth around the ball, which is, they're just scary.
Yeah, very good list. Hate to say it, but the Suns, Bombers.
Surely the Suns. They can't possibly lose this game with how many injuries the Bombers have got. What will be interesting, though, is if the Suns win the first game, is there a chance this game becomes meaningless for their season? Like, could they be in finals and not much else changes? Or maybe it's the difference between a home, I don't know, can they get home final status? I haven't sort of looked too far ahead, but I worry if they drop a shitload of players. But given there's the week off afterwards, you would think they would, still go for the kill.
You know what? It would be hilarious if this game rounded out and Gold Coast just put out 3-year-olds for it because everything had been done. Like, it would punish the AFL for this stupid extra bye that we didn't sort out when we could have quite easily sorted it out at the time.
You know what? Dimmer's like that too, I reckon. He would do that. If it was inconsequential to the ladder position finishing, he would do it. He tried to fly a white flag for us in the preseason game, quite literally. So I've got no doubt that could happen.
Well, this is what it would look like. If you are right, this is what the final 4 would look like. Adelaide, Geelong, Lions, Cats, Gold Coast, GWS, Doggies, and Hawthorn, with, again, Fremantle killing their chances with their poor percentage. That would be a ripping.
Be a good final series, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, what does the finals look like? Can I test that? Oh, there you are. Look, that's what it would look like.
Adelaide, Collingwood. That's a good game, isn't it?
Look, Adelaide, Collingwood at the AO. Gold
Tell you
Coast,
what, the fact that Giants and the Bulldogs, they hate each other in finals. That'd be a good outcome.
And that would be brilliant. Like, if that's what we're talking about next week, that is a very good final series. You are, if Hawks win, you are spot on. Look, if Hawks win, Yeah, top 4.
Changes so much. There's so much on the line. And Brisbane go down to 7th. Wow. That's the consequences of that game are massive, aren't they?
Yeah, and really, it depends how much, because this just sets it that you win by 20 points. But let's just say they went into the Gold Coast game with Essendon. They've got to win by 40 to get into the top 4.
Wow. It's
So,
going to be an interesting week.
It's fascinating. Like, that Port game could be everything, because I don't think it'll be a blowout, which means I think they'll go to Essendon thinking, right, we've got to put some scores on.
It's kind of what you want, doesn't it? And I guess they'd be frustrated, though, because they have to obviously double up games pretty quickly and then worry about finals, but they've still got to play their heart out to make sure they can get some percentage to try and creep into the 4.
You know what makes it sad is I come from soccer where the final day of the season, everyone plays at the same time, so no one knows.
It's good, isn't it, when they do that?
Like, it's a shame Gold Coast are in that situation that they know the exact margin. How good would that be if Hawthorn, Gold Coast versus Essendon was at the same time and it was basically a shootout with margin? Like, and
that
there's
would be
no
kind
way
of cool,
they
wouldn't it?
There.
You're right, I hadn't thought of it that way, that they'll know the exact outcomes they require before setting foot on the field for that last game. That is a bit disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, it adds to the intrigue and the magic of it. Because I remember being in the pub when Man City famously scored that Aguero goal.
Yeah.
I'm a Man United fan, so I couldn't get to the game, but my uncle was at the game, and he was on the phone to me while I was in the pub, so they could actually get the results.
That's crazy. Because people were still in the stadium as well, weren't they, watching it on the screen?
Yeah, so like I was ringing him saying, it's okay at the minute, it's still ours. And like he was literally on the phone to me as Aguero scored that goal. And like I could hear him going, Danny, what the fuck's going on? Danny. And like I was just like in shock, crying into my beer. I couldn't actually speak to him, but he'd obviously worked out by me going radio silent that the dirty Argentinian had scored the goal.
Could Gold Coast, knowing the exact requirements, backfire as well? Could it add additional pressure they wouldn't have once had in that game? And does that maybe give Essendon some ammunition to try and fire up a bit more?
Definitely. I mean, for Essendon, I think Essendon have got everything to play for. Like, because that's how Gold Coast will be thinking. You are a punching bag. Yeah. So I don't think Scott's the type of coach that's going to say to them, oh, let's let Gold Coast get in. I think he'll be thinking, let's try and keep it to 10, 15.
Yeah. If you can't make the 8, shape the 8.
Yeah. I don't think Scott's the type of coach that just says, oh, okay, well, let's let them in. Like, so it is definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing. Man City that year against QPR were relegated pretty much. They were on the bones of their arse. Everyone thought Man City were going to win it, and it took a moment of brilliance. So it's one of them things. Funny old game, sport, when you're meant to win, it can always make you look foolish very quickly, doesn't it?
That's it. You can't turn up thinking it's going to just be job done. You still got to get out there and play for 4 quarters. And we have a cracking week coming up, which is awesome.
Well, mate, thank you very much for joining me and chat. I've put your link in the description there and in the comments. Just tell the people what kind of wonderful things are you doing usually and what have you got planned in the off-season? Because I think we've got some special watch-alongs coming, haven't we?
So I mean, usually we've got a Monday night live weekly show with the usual crew on to talk about the game from the weekend and an upcoming preview. Wednesday night, we'll do a selection show with another guest. We do Behind Frenemy Lines, usually on a Thursday, where we have a guest from an opposition club come on to chat. And then, throughout the week, there'll be various videos. We'll try and roll out a fan cam every now and then. I sort of did suggest we should probably get maybe a few of us Spotter-mate creators together to maybe do some final stuff, but we'll have to chuck a bit of a DM out and see who's keen, and I'm sure we can come up with something.
We could be called the Reject Watch-Along.
Yeah, we could be.
Outcast Watch-Along.
Outcast, I'm sure there's a few disparaging names we could be called.
Or we could be the Hate Watch-Along, couldn't we? Because you're just genuinely watching that game, hating 8 teams that are having fun.
We're just drowning our sorrows and, watching some quality football that we're not a part of again, which would be wonderful.
Yeah, well, chat, thank you very much for joining me. I was going to do a watch along tonight, but genuinely, I am knackered. So what I will do is we will start the football watch alongs the week of the bye in finals when I'm not doing 8 lives a week. I'm getting too old. So I'm going to watch it in my pajamas in bed next to Mrs. Pom and hopefully wake her up when Shesko scores a 90th minute winner against the Arsenal. That'll be good. That's my perfect Sunday night. But chat, thank you very much. I'll be back tomorrow. Ratings Monday. I'll be on Blue Abroad. Then I'm on the Fiona's channel, Bomber Banter, doing the Essendon. And we have got the second part of the draft series coming out tomorrow. All the freebies at the National Combine. So stay tuned for that. And I will see you next tomorrow. And I'll see you next week on this show. Thank you very much, everyone.
See you guys.